The Arctic War nobody talks about. Canada, Russia, and the US in the race for the North. Welcome back to the channel. Now let's imagine a vast frozen expanse that holds more oil and gas than Saudi Arabia, new global shipping routes, and untapped geopolitical power. Now imagine three global powers quietly escalating their presence there. Welcome to the real, unfolding Arctic War. This isn't fiction, and it's not decades away. It's happening right now. Today we're diving into the hidden geopolitical battleground of the Arctic, where Canada, Russia, and the United States are vying for dominance. We'll uncover the history, strategies, and the alarming developments unfolding beneath the ice. Part 1. Why the Arctic matters. The Arctic isn't just a barren wasteland of snow and polar bears. It holds an estimated 13% of the world's undiscovered oil, 30% of its natural gas, and vast mineral reserves. Add to that the opening of new shipping lanes due to melting ice, like the Northern Sea Route and Northwest Passage. And suddenly the Arctic becomes one of the most economically and militarily strategic regions in the world. But here's the catch. It's mostly unclaimed. And that's where the fight begins. Part 2. The geopolitical claims under the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. Nations can claim an extended continental shelf beyond their 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone if they can prove it as a natural extension of their land. Russia, Canada, and Denmark have all filed overlapping claims for the same Arctic seabed territory. In 2007, Russia made headlines by planting a flag on the seafloor beneath the North Pole. Canada responded by ramping up its Arctic presence and investing in icebreakers and patrols. The US, which hasn't ratified UNCLOS, has taken a more strategic and militarized stance. Part 3. Russia's Arctic dominance. Russia is leading the charge. With the world's largest fleet of nuclear-powered icebreakers, new military bases, and extensive oil and gas infrastructure in the region, Russia is making no secret of its Arctic ambitions. President Putin has repeatedly stated that the Arctic is a top national priority. Military installations have been modernized. Runways are being extended. S-400 missile systems are deployed. This isn't about exploration, it's about control. Part 4. Canada's sovereignty struggle. Canada, a nation with the second largest Arctic territory, has historically emphasized diplomacy and scientific claims. However, it has faced criticism for moving too slowly. That's starting to change. The Canadian government has increased military spending in the region, conducted Arctic training exercises, and made significant scientific efforts to substantiate its territorial claims. The Northwest Passage, which Canada claims as internal waters, is particularly contentious. The US and others argue it's an international strait. This dispute highlights the fragile balance between alliances and sovereignty. Part 5. The United States' strategic entry. Though late to the game, the US is now stepping up. The US Navy and Coast Guard are deploying more vessels to the region. New Arctic strategies under both the Trump and Biden administrations have emphasized military readiness and the need to counter Russian and Chinese activity. Alaska gives the US a foothold in the Arctic, and with increasing Chinese interest in the region, Washington is recalibrating its Arctic strategy to include both containment and competition. Part 6. The role of climate change. Ironically, the very thing making the Arctic more accessible, climate change is also making it more unstable. As ice melts, it exposes more territory to be claimed, but it also brings environmental destruction, rising sea levels, and threatens indigenous communities. The scramble for resources may lead to accidents, ecological disasters, and increased militarization. Climate change is both a catalyst and a crisis in this Arctic equation. Part 7. China enters the chat. China has declared itself a near-Arctic state and invested heavily in Arctic infrastructure through its Polar Silk Road initiative. Though it has no territorial claims, its economic ambitions in the Arctic are significant. This adds another layer to the conflict. While the Arctic Council once promoted cooperation, it is now increasingly divided by global rivalries. Part 8. The militarization escalates. What began as scientific research missions have turned into military exercises. NATO is more involved. Russia has held live-fire drills. The US is expanding radar and missile defense systems in Alaska. Canada has increased joint training operations. What we're witnessing is a gradual but undeniable militarization of the Arctic. The threat of miscalculation is real. Part 9. Indigenous Voices and Ethical Questions. Amid all this geopolitical jockeying, indigenous communities who have called the Arctic home for thousands of years are often overlooked. They face the greatest threat from climate change and militarization. Their land, culture, and way of life are under siege. The question becomes, who is the Arctic really for? 10. What the future holds. The Arctic War may not be fought with guns just yet, but it is already underway in courtrooms, research labs, and military planning rooms. Who will win? That depends on international cooperation, environmental stewardship, and whether diplomacy can outpace aggression. But make no mistake, the race is on. The stakes are high, and the silence surrounding the Arctic War may not last much longer. Outro. Thanks for watching. If you found this deep dive into the Arctic War insightful, hit that like button and subscribe for more hidden stories shaping our world. Drop a comment below. Do you think the Arctic will be the next global flashpoint? Stay curious, stay informed, and until next time, keep exploring the truths hidden beneath the ice. Stay intrigued.